right, what's going on out there, everybody? It's Tahir Johnson, and we're back with another episode of the Cannabis Diversity Report. And man, this week I'm hyped because I got my brother in the building, Seun Adedeji, the youngest Black man in the country to own a dispensary, man. Seun, I'm so happy to have you, man. You got so many great things going on, and it couldn't be happening to a better brother. What's up, man?
What's up, bro? Hey, I appreciate the love. You already know, like, I thank you for having me on. So I'm ready, bro. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Seun, man, for anybody that's out there listening that doesn't know about your business, Elev8 Cannabis, let's just start off and tell them a little bit about Elev8.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Seun Adedeji, like Tahir said. I'm the founder and CEO of Elev8 Cannabis. We are a multi-state operator with locations in Oregon, and we have 3 licenses here in Massachusetts. We're going to open our first shop in Mass next month. I started my cannabis journey. I was originally born in Lagos, Nigeria. I migrated to Chicago, Illinois at the age of 3. While I was in Chicago, Illinois, I lived in not such a wholesome home. So we had to hustle for everything. So everything I had to procure it. I had to buy it. So at an early age, I had an entrepreneurial mindset where I was the kid with a duffel bag selling candy in school, telling people, bro, I know you like a Lexus. I got some gum for you. What's up? And everybody's buying gum. And later on, I upgraded from selling gums and candy to selling cannabis. And cannabis has always, since then been a part of my life. And at a very early age in Illinois, I got arrested for marijuana possession at 13 years old. And at that moment, being African, being Nigerian, I've never gotten an ass whooping like I've ever, that ass whooping, I'll never forget it. Yeah. So it was a turning point in my life because now I got arrested. I felt like my life is over. The cannabis back then was looked down on. Like if you did cannabis, like it was like no turning back. So I had a huge opportunity to really change my life because my dad and stepmom split. I moved to Arlington, Texas. So shout out to Agtown for anyone on here. And Arlington, Texas changed my life. Being in Texas gave me a whole new environment to be in. My auntie was one of the first ladies to ever show me love, unconditional love. And she preached, don't let your past, dictate your future. And I'm a firm believer in a blank page. So I took advantage of the new opportunity, the new environment. I started applying myself. I joined the FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. I did a lot of great things. I went to nationals. And I started really taking my street hustle and putting a little some education into it too. And that's why I tell people, I'm street smart and book smart. So just like my way of thinking is a little different from most people. So outside of that, I moved to Washington State. And when I moved to Washington State, I was about 19 when I moved out there. And I started looking at, around that time, the cannabis industry was becoming legalized in 1920, when I was 19 or 20 in Washington State. And I started looking at this new emerging market unfold. I'm thinking to myself, man, I was arrested for this. How can I penetrate this industry? And I had a corporate job where I was making money, but I really wanted to create generational wealth. And that's when I started really diving into just what it would take for me to get into the cannabis industry. There was hurdles because now you need attorneys, you need $1 million to get in. So most minorities, when you hear that, you get discouraged, right? Tahir, like I don't have no uncles, brothers, sisters, auntie. Right. I can call, be like, hey, please loan me $1 million. I can't even ask them to loan me 10,000. Right. you know what I mean? So at that became a struggle. It's like, how can I really get into this industry because it's so capital intensive? And I started just reading the laws, understanding what it would take. When I turned 21, I took it a lot more seriously. I overcame my fear of lack of capital because I started looking at the data associated to the cannabis industry, and I started looking at the revenue, looking at like the projections and what people were making on a monthly basis. So all my fears went away. I said, you know what, I could put sweat equity. I don't have a mill, but I have a lot of grit and hustle. And I started pivoting because Washington State was a limited licensed state. So they only gave out a few. And by the time I had enough courage to actually execute on my big, hairy, audacious dreams, it was too late. So I pivoted and I started looking into Oregon. Oregon was an open market state where they gave out unlimited licenses. There's pros and cons to that. And I started my journey, and for 2 years, I got rejected. You know, nobody wanted to lease me a property. A lot of people don't know the first thing you need before you can get into the cannabis industry is real estate. This then becomes super expensive because you have zoning buffers, zoning restrictions where you can actually put your real estate. You have to be 1,000 square footage from a KT12. You have to be 1,000 square footage from an existing dispensary, so that limits your options, but that also supply and demand. There's a huge amount of demand, there's a limited amount of supply because of the zoning restriction. So what happens is property acquisitions increase, like the demand for property is high, so landlords start taxing you. And the things about that is you're paying on your property for about a year, 6 months to a year, sometimes 3 years, in order to get your license. So it takes some time. Later on, I'm gonna fast forward, I was able to open my first shop in Eugene, Oregon in 2017. And I only had 50,000. I tell people I was a COE, I was a chief of everything. I legitimately did everything. Being a minorities, I was undercapitalized, but I had a lot of hustle within me and I had passion. And I was authentic, and we took care of our customer. I slept in my shop for a whole year. I worked from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I had so much believe in myself that I didn't allow my lack of capital to really stop me. I got creative. In the street, you say spot me the product. In corporate world, you say consignment. You say net 30. So you start looking at different ways where even though I couldn't afford product, I had creative ways to acquire product. Using my street knowledge and corporate knowledge to really sell myself and my brand. Now we moved location in 2019 to downtown Eugene. We just reopened and we're open now for 3 months. I pivoted also in 2018. I moved to Massachusetts because I started looking at a 5-year trajectory, and I started looking at Oregon being an oversaturated market. I did not see it as lucrative as some of the new and emerging states. And I looked at myself, I had something that a lot of people didn't have. I had experience, I've done it before. So it made me valuable. So I could read a law, and I can have like different foresight that most people wouldn't have, because not only have I lived it, not only have I read it, I've lived through it. So I took my knowledge, I brought it to Mass, and we had a strategy to go to Massachusetts, and we focus on border towns. So property acquisition was cheaper, lobbying effort became cheaper, and we knew we couldn't compete with the big dogs. You have people right now paying $100,000, $200,000 just for leasing a property. And I knew that long term, it takes about a year, like I said, to 3 years just to go through the process. And there was no way an African-American man like myself could withstand that for a whole 3 years, spending that type of money. So I own a real estate company. I acquired properties. I subleased it back to my company. And we have 3 licenses here in Massachusetts, and we're about to open up, bro. That was a mouthful, but you already know.
Not as it should be, man, because the people need to know. And if you're paying attention out there, I don't know if you're looking at the timeline, but he's talking about getting started in this at 19. And how old are you now?
I'm 27.
27 years old, man. And so I think some important things that you said was it's like the hustle and the grit that got you there. I think it's so important for us to, talk about, for one, and celebrate you and everything that you've accomplished. Especially when we look at just looking at the statistics, right? They say less than 1/5 of ownership in the cannabis industry is people of color. and less than 5% of those African Americans. You've been able to build this business, come in guns blazing, young brother, and you've been doing this like without social equity and bootstrapping your own business. Tell me how you've been able to do that. What's like your secret to success?
Yeah, I'm happy that you brought up the social equity component. Like, I respect the social equity. I'm a big advocate for it. We lobby for it. I want to pivot real quick. My home state in Chicago, Illinois, when they were coming out with their legislation on what social equity would look like, we were one of the people to help them craft the bill on what social equity would look like. And one of the two things we lobbied for, like I said earlier, there's 50 states in the United States, there's only 33 states with some type of cannabis legalization, right? The biggest hurdle for minorities to get into the cannabis industry is real estate, one of them, right? Because now you're paying for a property in the hopes of winning a license. So we lobbied Illinois to remove real estate as a criteria. The second thing we lobbied for was to get a revolving loan using tax revenue from the cannabis industry and use a percentage of that for revolving loan to go towards social equity applicants so they can have an opportunity to actually have a fair chance and have capital to get their business started. So there was a $35 million loan that was started to help social equity applicants get in. Now, to talk about social equity and to talk about how I've done it, sometimes, the social equity component is great for the people that need it, but it also takes away where people don't focus on people like Just Incredibles, like the Reginalds, the Shea Woons. And the reason why I say that, we get social equity that gets so much attention that they miss out on the people that don't qualify because they get a good job at once upon a time, but they came from these neighborhoods that were disproportionately affected. But because now they had a higher paying job or moved to a better neighborhood, that don't mean they have $1 million to get their job, to get their company started. And that does not mean that, they have everything together. These people still need help. So I feel like, social equity is great, but I feel like we that don't qualify for social equity, we're not given the spotlight like a lot of people that do qualify for social equity just because they think like, oh, he got out of this neighborhood, he made X amount of salary, he does not qualify, we don't need to worry about him. I was like, come on, guys, like we got to do better. Getting a minority into the cannabis industry is a win. Getting an African-American, Hispanic man, Hispanic woman, African-American woman into this industry is a win for us, period. And I just want to say, for everyone that's out there that's not social equity and they're putting their sweat, capital, tears, they're like, keep in mind, social equity gives you some, like, it gives you some shortcuts, not shortcuts, but it gives you some ability to do certain things that regular applicants cannot do. So we're going against the big MSOs, multi-state operators. We're going against the Crescos. We're going against the Acreage. We're going against all these big players, especially when you look at states like Massachusetts, and we're not getting no help. It's like we're doing exactly, we're underfunded just like the social equity applicants, but right. we get no help.
Right, and of course, there's different residency, and socioeconomic factors, like you said, that play into social equity. I think the misconception that a lot of people have is that it's just race, right? People will think, oh, you're Black, you automatically are social equity, and that's not the case. And I think it's something important to focus on, because that does make me think of something, like for somebody like you, who's, probably one of the few people of color that is building a multi-state operator, because you already have those businesses. In some cases, you don't get those advantages that other people have. But something that I want to, try to focus on, especially because, so now you've done business in, or going after business in Illinois, Massachusetts, you have things in process in both. Both of those are kind of some of the most watched, states that are coming on the map with social equity and just, giving people of color opportunities. What are some of the differences that you see between the two programs? you know, what are some of the pros and cons between both, and you know, what was it like navigating through that?
Yeah, I would say pros, right? Massachusetts has done a great job on capping licenses to 3. This gives minority business operators an opportunity to actually get into the industry. The cap on licenses per corporation, I can't express it enough that this was one of the smartest moves, because now if Massachusetts did not do that, you would see big multi-state operators just killing this market by continuously expanding their retail footprint and not really giving mom and pop businesses an opportunity to thrive and succeed. So I want to say, first and foremost, shout out to Mass for being intentional about that and holding people accountable to that. I think that was great. Another thing that I really liked that I felt that Mass did good was, even though it is not perfected yet, they still have the social equity component that they're still looking to give people expedited review on their application. I think that that's super important, and them doing that is great, because now if you're a social equity applicant, you're able to jump the line and get your application reviewed. I think that's amazing. Now, Illinois is only giving out, in the first wave, they're only giving out 75 licenses initially. So in Illinois, things are a little different. Like in Massachusetts, for example, the cities determine the restrictions on how many licenses they're going to give out in their specific city or town. In Illinois, you have the state is in the wave 1 is only giving out 75, wave 2, 100. So it's like both market, you know, I can't really speak intelligently on the Illinois market because I have not seen it unfold yet. I think they have a lot of promises, but I think Toy Hutchison, she's the woman for the job. She's a cannabis czar. And I hear her passion, and I've known her, and she's an incredible woman that really advocates for social justice and equity within the cannabis space to create generational wealth for our people. And I'll also say, you know, Shalene Title is also putting her best foot forward. But I gotta say this, that it's not just one person that can move that needle. It takes a group of people. So maybe I'm a little bit more understanding than most, because as a regular applicant, I can speak on, like, it's taken me a minute. Like, you know, I tell you all the time, you know, it's taken me about just to get to this point.
Months? Is it almost a year now? How long has it been?
It's been about 2 years and 10 months to be exact. So I usually say 3 years, but to give you the exact time for it, 2 years and 10 months. So imagine spending money on 3 properties for a whole, you know, 2 years and 10 months. And that's a lot of money and no revenue coming in. Yes. Zero revenue coming in out here in Massachusetts. And we just been spending money just in the hopes of winning a license out here. But I'm glad that, you know, we went through the process and we were able to get our post-provisional license. Now we're on the agenda in September to get, you know, hopefully, if all goes well, from looking at data, we should get our final September and get our doors open. So it's just hard for me to speak on it, because I just see them trying their best, but I don't think anyone has gotten social equity right yet. I just don't understand how we have only one African-American dispensary in the whole state of Massachusetts.
Right.
I don't get it. You know, so for me, it's like, what is going on? And, you know, I can't play a blame game, because I know that, you know, it's more than just one person responsibility. And I think the biggest hurdles for minorities is capital. It's capital. Like, to be honest, is like we don't have the capital, but you guys want us in this industry that costs $1 million just to get a business going. But, you know, there's no capital resource to tap into. So I think that that's what Mass is missing right now. I think Illinois, they need to expand on their cultivation. They're only limited into craft and grow. I think for the Illinois market to really succeed and be sustainable, they need to give minority a bigger footprint in the cultivation realm, because as you see, data shows that Illinois is selling out of cannabis right now. They have a shortage, so forth and so on. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I really, I can't really speak on it because I just think capital is what we're really missing right now.
Right. And that's such an important point. I also believe that capital is the biggest barrier to access to the industry. That's the leading reason why we launched our social equity scholarship program here at NCIA, which gives all social equity applicants and licensees around the country free membership here. And as we look at, with you being somebody who's been able to raise capital for your business to elevate it to this level, for somebody that might be new starting out in the cannabis industry, what are some things that you can do to make your business attractive to be able to, attract investors and things like that?
Yeah, leverage your assets. There's things called invisible capital, right? Relationship is everything. Understand who in your network knows who. And when I talk about invisible capital, I'm talking about if you go into the room and you're a Black man and you see another Black man, you guys can relate a lot better. Invisible capital also is leverage your ability to win a license. If you're social equity, leverage your ability to, get into the realm and win a license, then go raise capital. You don't have to raise the mill right up front. You can raise it stages, right? So you can say, hey, so in order for me to go through the application phase and hire an attorney, I'm going to need 50,000, hypothetically speaking, or I need 10,000 to 50,000 in order just to get this piece of paper. So take that in stage. You don't have to do everything at once. Once you have something worthwhile that investors are looking for, you become more attractive, because keep in mind, this is a new emerging industry. They have capital licenses. So you just having the ability to win that licenses make you indisposable. It makes you valuable. And now when you go and try to raise capital, people cannot take advantage of you because you have an asset. That piece of paper costs money. It's worth millions of dollars just for you to have that piece of paper. So now you can present it and you can use that as leverage to raise more capital.
Right. Yeah, man. You really have an understanding of this. I think much beyond what most people have. And you're a very intellectual brother. One thing that you and I talk about, like, I know that you read all the time. What are some of the biggest sources, like, where you get your information from, or even just motivation to be able to do your thing?
Yeah, I love Canada Insider. Like I listen to the podcast, and I think it's a good one. I also read, like you said, I read a lot of books. The Four Agreements is one of my favorite books. We were just talking about it not too long ago. And it just talks about, don't take anything personal. Do not assume, do your best, and being impeccable with your words. So, different things, books like that. Never Split the Difference. One of my favorite books of all time, business book, is Profit First. I think that book changed my trajectory or way of thinking as a businessman, because I kept just pouring money into my business, and I never took the time to really invest in myself and make sure I was getting paid. I was just reinvesting everything into my business. But I tell people, if you got to cut some things out of your business, if you got to fire people and do if you can do their job and get yourself paid, you got to take care of yourself, mental health. And you did not start your business so you can pay other people to run your business and be broke. You have to, you have to be profitable. And yeah, those are some of my favorite books. And I would like to just tap in on one more thing. I would like to say, one, I appreciate everyone, all the minorities that are currently in this cannabis industry. they're paving ways like you. You know, with the NCIA, you know, you put a lot of people on. I don't know a lot of people know that, but you put a lot of people on, and you give them the spotlight that they need to tell their stories, or you put them in rooms where in any other case they would not be in that room. And I'm one of those people. So I want to say I thank you for what you do for the industry. I appreciate you, bro. You know, it's all love. And the second thing I want to say to all the minorities that are out there, I want to say, like, y'all, look, we're not against each other. I'm not against anybody. I'm not in a competition with anybody. I honestly want to see everyone win. And as being minorities, we've all faced hardship. We've all faced hard times. So getting into this industry, I want to say, look, I'm proud of y'all. It's not an easy journey. And I just think that we just got to continue to lead with love. We got to continue to help each other and be resources to one another to really help each other elevate and get to that next stage of our journey. Because at the end of the day, y'all, there is no amount of money we're going to make in this world that's going to go with us. Y'all, we're going to die one day. There's no amount of money at all. So, like, you know, like if we can, you know, like if we can help each other elevate, that's all it is, man. Like, let's just, yeah.
Yo, I love that, man. You know, you're always focused on elevating. And of course, I know your motto with Elevate is to treat everybody like gold, man. And it really does shine through with everything that you do, bro. And you know, one last thing I do want to ask you about and get your perspective on, because you know, a lot of things are changing and moving fast in the cannabis industry. I feel like we're definitely approaching, you know, legalization sometime soon. It's on the horizon. I can't say exactly when, but as cannabis begins to become a more global opportunity, right? Like I know that you're from Nigeria, and I think it's interesting that I've even been connecting with people over in Africa lately talking about cannabis. Like I just met a brother from South Africa, right? Like, you know, as cannabis becomes a more global opportunity, what do you think about opportunities for like African nations to capitalize and that be a source of revenue?
Yeah, I you know, like I speak my language. Me and my biological mom lives in Nigeria. So we have conference call every Sunday, and we just got some stuff in the work. You know, she's definitely our entrepreneur, and I think Nigeria is a great market. So we're just working. So I'm focused over here, but we definitely are cooking some stuff back home too.
Yeah, well, now I know that I read that like Nigeria is one of the largest like cannabis consumption markets in the world, man. So that'd be dope if we elevate over there.
No, exactly. So, you know, you know, a lot of my family is still in Nigeria. I'm still heavily rooted there in our culture and just we're just working. We're just working. So I'm tunnel vision right now. You know, I tell my mom, you know, she's excited. She's like, oh, let's do this. I just saw this. You know, I'm like, mom, let's you know, slow down. You know, let's focus. We gotta focus. But so no, we got some stuff planned.
Yo, well, bro, man, I appreciate you for stopping through. I'm gonna let you get back at your day. Before you run off, you know, what last words would you give of advice for people of color that want to pursue opportunities in the industry and other young people, man? Because like I said, you're 26 years old. Other young people that just want to achieve success in life, even outside of cannabis, you know, what advice, support, and tips would you leave with people?
Yeah, Tahir, you do what I do. May 23rd was my birthday, so I turned 27, and it had to take me a little bit to keep saying 27. No, I kept doing it. I was like, I'm 26.
My bad. My bad.
I'm getting old. You know, I'm getting old. You know, I always say this, I leave it off with this, right? Nothing is given, everything is taken. You know, like I always say this, and what I mean by that is, everybody has their journey, trials and tribulation, trauma, everything else. Everyone is really right now, you have to go get it. Like, you can't be mad when people don't support you in your dreams and give up. They don't need to support you initially. And don't be mad at them, because a lot of times people talk, but they don't put actions behind their word. So people get nervous, should I invest in this or not? You know, is this just, you know, people like some of my friends that when I was telling them about opening up Elevate, I was like, they didn't think I was serious.
Right.
You know what I mean? They was like, bro,
Dispensary.
you know, open up a dispensary? You know how much that costs? You know, there's no way. It costs $1 million. Like, can you do that? You know, so you have a lot of people that tell you what you can't or can't do. And they come from good intentions, because keep in mind, we don't have, outside of rappers, basketball players, we don't have like people in our communities that we can be like, oh, they're an entrepreneur and they're crushing it, that we can like talk to. Is limited. Is limited. Right. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, it's crazy to do something different. And you just have to you just have to follow your dreams. Like, you know, like nothing is easy. Nothing good comes easy. So if the cannabis industry is your passion, first you have to understand what part of the cannabis industry you want to get into. Don't try to recreate the wheel. Just find something that you're already doing that you're passionate about. I was a marketing manager for retail. I did sales all my life. I was selling candy. I sold weed. It made sense for me to do retail because I'm a salesman, right? Now, the second thing is, like, everybody tells me, oh, do cultivation, do CBD. I'm just like, bro, I don't have the bandwidth. I need to be great at this first before I start jumping into 50 different things, because it's like, how can I put my best? Like, I can't put 100% when I'm divided. There's no way, you know, you got to see something through. And once that, like the retail aspect of cultivation, once that's generating you and it's standing on its own, you can start pivoting and doing other things. So find something you're passionate about, focus on it, execute, and just continue to hustle. And last thing, outside, if we do get our September approval, Elev8 will be the first minority non-social equity, like without social equity, to really open our doors. So I'm excited about that, and if we make that happen, it's definitely is a huge milestone, and I'm grateful.
Absolutely, man. I'm rooting for you, and if that date does come in September, I'm definitely going to be there, bro.
Let's go, bro. You already know, big flexing. Let's go.
Hey.
All right, Elev8, bro.
Be easy. Stay elevated.
Stay elevated.
One.